Hello. I have a lot to talk about this week. My log is obscene. It's just jam packed with links and things that I want to talk about. So I'm just going to get into it. The first thing that I want to mention is this cranberry cookie butter cheesecake recipe from New York Times Cooking, which actually my sisters were just in town over the weekend for the holiday and the Thanksgiving holiday. And one of them brought this up. It's a no bake recipe, which is always great. Well, you have to bake the crust, you don't bake the cheesecake. It's a specula style cookie crust, so you could use a Biscoff cookie. There's an orange scented cheesecake base that you divide in two. One layer is whipped with cookie butter spread, and the other is infused with cranberry sauce. So there's a pink layer and then a tannish orange layer. I'm wondering if we might want to make this for Christmas. Although my other sister does not care for fruit desserts, unfortunately. But we might be going back to chocolate desserts now that my sister, who's opposed to chocolate desserts, is finally ready to start eating them again. You know, the sister who doesn't like fruit desserts is not ready to eat those. So we might be going with a chocolate option when considering holiday desserts for my immediate family. We also have to make sure that we can make them gluten-free. And when you're making something that has a pre-bought cookie or cracker crust, that's often easy to do. You can get a gluten-free Oreo, you can get a gluten-free cracker or cookie. Maybe a gluten-free cracker would be a little strange. But I did want to mention that recipe because it does look good. Okay. I have on my list to talk about cheese curds. I did want to shout out the curd burger at Culver's, which I haven't had, but people are talking about it. I don't know if it's still available, but it was available as of last month. I need to try it. Speaking of cheese curds, I want to talk about the new Popeyes cheese curd product, which is a garlic flavored cheese curd. I don't know if it's available nationally. My local Popeyes is in a gas station, and as you might know, the last time I went there, the gas station Popeyes, their drive-through, it's connected to a gas station, and you can go inside of it, but it also has a drive-through. But the last time I went to the drive-through, they never answered. So I went inside, and while I was putting my order in with the guy behind the counter, he walked out of the store and never came back. So I'm not sure if my Popeyes will be the place to check out new items. I don't know if that's their testing ground, but I am going to be on the lookout for the Popeyes garlic curds. And I can't say that I blame that guy, but that is what happened. Speaking of curds and large mozzarella patties, I made arancini, which I will get into later in the episode. I think I talked about the actual risotto and assembling of the arancini in the last episode. What I'm trying to say is that I just want mozzarella sticks and leave the rice out. And I did want to bring up my arancino story. When I lived in Italy with a family when I was a teenager, I lived with this family in Como in Italy. And they were midway through my stay with them, they decided to house sit a cat named Arancino, which is the singular form of arancini. It means big orange. And he was really round and orange. It was the perfect name for him. He didn't like me, which is weird because he didn't know anybody else in the house, but he particularly didn't like me, and he didn't like my suitcase. He could probably smell that I was foreign. So he urinated all over my luggage. You know, I was living out of a suitcase. It was open. He urinated all over it. My host mother decided to launder all of my clothes mixed in with her clothes, and she dried the laundry and put it back in my suitcase just in time for me to go to the airport. I flew home. My mom opened my suitcase to wash my clothes, and my rain jacket was in there, which, if you've owned a rain jacket, you will know it has a lot of Velcro on it. So all of my host family's black lingerie was stuck to the Velcro of my raincoat. I was 16. My mother lost her mind. She said, "What did you do? Why do you have a suitcase full of black lingerie?" I told her that it wasn't mine. I don't know if she ever believed me, but I brought this story up to her last week and she has no memory of it. So I guess it didn't have that big of an impact on her, or she just did not care. Okay. That's only partially food related. Back to food. I just found out about something called a lie triangle. I've been talking about soft pretzels a lot, and the lie triangle seems like it's a product for me. I was watching a TikTok of a girl who I think is visiting Germany from the UK, and she is going to random German bakeries. They look pretty mass-produced style bakeries with a lot of different kind of dry gas station airport pastries. And she had a lie triangle. So let me just Google what a lie triangle is so I can properly explain it, because it's been a week since I watched the video. So it's a German pastry called a Longneck, a cross between a croissant and a pretzel. It's a triangular shape with flaky buttery interior of a croissant and a pretzel-like exterior, created by dipping the dough in a lye solution before baking, hence it being like a pretzel. I would like this. It is a specialty in the Alsace region. They're also called a lye roll. In France, they are known as a morissette. Probably amazing with butter. Okay, another TikTok that I saw was a product called Granny's Batch Cookie. It looks like a mail order dessert, but it does seem to be based in Manhattan, New York. It's like it comes in a cookie tin, and it looks like biscuits that are all baked together in a cast iron pan, but it's cookies. Okay, I tried to find their website and it looked like an AI generated postcard website devoted to iced tea. Now that I'm on their Instagram, it looks very similar. Their Instagram only has 10 followers, so I don't know if I should be promoting this or not. They do same day delivery in New York City, Thursday and Sunday drops. It looks very new. So I'm looking at a picture, introducing Granny's Batch. This is 59 minutes ago. Oh wow, so I might be the first person on their Instagram account. Small batch, overstuffed cookie tins, baked fresh in NYC. Twice a week drops, same day warm delivery. Sign up, we're launching soon. Okay, so this isn't even a product yet. So it looks like they have a regular chocolate chip cookie base with multiple dark and milk chips. And then they have a chocolate cookie base with also dark and milk chips. They're all crammed in there. They look like biscuits baked in a cast iron. They look luscious. And it also seems that they are filled. So let's see. Let's read this description. Deep, dark, and fudgy. Inside, cocoa-loaded dough, melty chocolate chips, silky dulce de leche filling. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, and then the other option is brown butter dough, 2 kinds of chocolate chips, and a hot Nutella core. That's what I saw on Instagram last night, and I'm into it. If you're in New York, I can't recommend this. They launched November 13th, and they have 10 followers. So consume at your own risk. Let me see their website. Oops, I just accidentally followed them. Shit. Okay. going on their website is nothing. So this could be a scam. But I'm into the product from a visual standpoint, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. I went on a bit of a wild goose chase over the weekend trying to find the origins of the Fantan roll, which is also called a Yankee buttermilk roll or a butterflake roll. This all started because I was watching Martha Stewart's Endless Infomercial channel, in which she created a turkey tail roll, which is essentially a Fantan roll. She thought it looked like a turkey tail and marketed it for Thanksgiving, which was smart. It is a regular bread roll, but instead of rolling the dough into a round shape, you roll it out into a rectangle, cut strips, and then cut each strip into equal parts, and then you fan them together and bake it in a fan shape. Upon Googling this, every random recipe website kept saying, this is a New England recipe. This originated in New England. As someone from New England, I'd never heard of this. I texted my mother, also born and raised in New England, had never heard of this. So I went onto Internet Archive and their cookbook archives and tried to find the origin of the Fantan / butterflake roll. The first appearance of the recipe that I could find, and I limited this time to like 30 minutes. This could have been, I could still be researching this, but I'm gonna, for the sake of moving on with my life, limit myself a little bit. The recipe is beginning to appear in cookbooks around the turn of the century, around 1900, as butterflake rolls, and later, a little bit later, Fantan rolls. They are found in a few cookbooks, most of them being published in New York City. So I didn't find any conclusive evidence that they're from New England per se. Most of the early cookbooks that mention them are more instructional manuals and matter-of-fact recipes compared to our modern recipe books, which are a lot more, stories. And here's why I think that is. You can't copyright a recipe. You cannot copyright a recipe. So if you want to write a cookbook, you can. You can just copy recipes. Anybody can put out a cookbook. It's not a big deal. Recipes are free to share. But if you want to have a proper copyright in your cookbook, you have to flesh it out with more than just recipes. And that's where the long stories and personal anecdotes before recipes come in. When you're talking about blogs with that kind of thing, that's also SEO and just getting hits on your website, of course, so you can get ad revenue. But anyway, that is all to say that there are not a lot of details in the early mentions of this roll type. So I don't know. I don't really have a lot of answers. But I saw that Sola has a New York Times recipe for Fantan rolls. I saw a couple really good recipes on the internet, really good modern recipes. And I guess I'll get into the actual recipe when I get into my recounting of the week. But I did, just as a preview, I did make Fantan rolls. And I'll get into it. Okay, next thing I want to talk about, 90 Day Fiancé. I love when they eat food on 90 Day Fiancé. And they often do. So, it's one of the few reality shows where they let them actually eat. So there is a couple on 90 Day the Other Way, which is the show where the American moves abroad. And this couple is a French person and an American person, and they move to France they move in with their parents in France. I don't remember where they are. Maybe somewhere around Marseille. And this French woman really likes cheese. I'm gonna let Wikipedia pronounce it for us. Hold on. Turn my volume all the way up. Saint-Marcelin. Okay, that's the name of the cheese. And it is a soft French cheese made from cow's milk, which is interesting because in the show they go to a goat farm to get this cheese. So something's wrong. But this is apparently her favorite cheese. And I'm interested. Apparently you can't sell it in the United States. And that's why he took her to get this cheese. And why can't you get it in the United States? I don't know. Probably something to do with the pasteurization. At the beginning of the 20th century, the production of Saint-Marcelin shifted from farmhouse to dairy-based methods around the 1980s. Production also transitioned from mixed goat to cow's milk exclusively cow's milk. Okay, so it seems like maybe the goat milk is more... It makes a little bit more sense. 50% fat content. Ooh. 3 degrees of ripening, sec, crémeux, and bleu. If cured in white wine, it becomes... Ooh, you can cure it in white wine, or you could cure it in brandy for a month or more. Oh, okay, so it eventually turns blue in the aging process. I mean, that must be why, if they're like letting it run, letting mold run rampant all over the place. Yeah, if it's not like a pasteurized deal. So what I'm finding on Reddit is that it's not available in the U.S. in its unpasteurized form. So anyone in France probably already knows about this cheese and is probably rolling their eyes at my description of it. Okay. Back to TikTok. Brian sent me a TikTok video of something called Dinner Time Live. And it was a clip of David Chang cooking, and Aziz Ansari and another guy, I did not know who he was, were sitting at the table, presumably about to eat what he was cooking. And David Chang was saying that he hated pumpkin pie because of its history, but then he wouldn't explain the history of the pumpkin pie when prodded. And people in the comments were livid that... I don't remember what he said. He was asserting that it was like a capitalistic history, but really it was... I mean, if you look into the history of the pumpkin pie, it was popularized by a Protestant woman as part of the like a Protestant movement, which, I guess you could also be mad at if you want to be. Anyway, I mean, people have a lot to say about David Chang. I did work for Milk Bar, which is part of David Chang's empire. And I don't know. I guess I'm not going to say anything new I have nothing more to add to the conversation except Dinner Time Live. I don't know what this is, and I'm not going to do any more research into it, but it feels like a Joe Rogan dude food podcast. And I'm immediately turned off. Aziz Ansari being in the episode. I remember Aziz Ansari would come into the Milk Bar commissary. So I worked at the main Milk Bar headquarters where the commissary, the office, and a mini storefront were located. And I remember Aziz Ansari coming in there a lot. And he eventually ended up very publicly dating, one of the pastry chefs who worked there. And it felt weird. Like he was coming back there to like scout for someone to date. I mean, I'm sure that's not actually what was going on. But it was weird because every time I went to Noodle Bar, which was David Chang's restaurant, Aziz Ansari was there eating. So he was just always around. So I guess it makes sense that he ended up dating one of the employees. But anyway, I'm not about to watch Dinner Time Live. You know what? I am going to Google it because I am curious where this is coming from. Dinner Time Live. Oh, it's a David Chang show. Okay. So that gives a little more context. And yeah. Okay, so it's a Netflix show? Okay, I'm totally wrong. I thought it looked like a podcast to me, but I'm just really, as you can tell, I do avoid any David Chang content at all costs, unless it's forcibly sent and presented in front of me by Brian. So never mind, I'm an idiot. It's a Netflix show. Okay. I learned a fun fact from my former boss. Did you know that Seventh-day Adventists are vegan? We're talking about old cookbooks, like spiral-bound church and community cookbooks. And my boss, who grew up and worked around like the Tennessee, Kentucky, Appalachia area, interacted with a lot of Seventh-day Adventists who were vegan. I did not know that. And they had a lot of the original vegan cookbooks, which, were probably, well, she said they were bad. They weren't making like beautiful California, like Alice Waters vegan vegetable forward dishes. This is from Google. The church's stance is rooted in its interpretation of the Bible, particularly Genesis 1:29, which suggests a plant-based diet was God's original plans for humans. Okay. It's about health. And vegans are a subset of the community. That's all I know. Okay. Speaking of this former boss, who I do Zoom with once a week, and we mostly talk about food, she sent me a recipe. I told her that I was making that cranberry pie, the cranberry crumble pie from Sister Pie. And she sent me a recipe from the Silver Palette cookbook, which she cooked from exclusively when she worked at a catering company, I think in the Tennessee area when she was younger, and they exclusively cooked from those cookbooks. So this is a recipe called I don't know what it's called because she didn't include the title of the recipe. Anyway, it's a cranberry and dried apricot pie. The crust, so she said that the crust recipe is a very easy dough to work with, and I think it's because of the addition of 2 egg yolks, which I've heard of before. I don't know if I've actually worked with a crust with egg yolk in it, but it is a Northern European method that provides a very short crust. So this crust recipe has 2 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour, 1/4 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, a pinch of salt, 3/4 cup unsalted butter, cold and cut into small pieces, 2 egg yolks, 2 hard cooked egg yolks, and grated zest of 1 lemon. I do love the it kind of reminds me of like a pâte française with the egg yolks, a bunch of eggs. which is also a very crumbly short crust. And the filling is 3 cups of cranberries, 12 dried apricots quartered, 1¼ cup of sugar, half to 3/4 cup of water, 1/3 cup of amaretto liqueur. And then there is a glazed, an egg wash with slivered almonds that goes over it. And the photo or the illustration shows a lattice design with cranberries peeking out. It sounds great. I don't know. I mean, I think it sounds good. At first I was thinking that the dried apricots would be too sweet, but they probably balance out the cranberries pretty well. 1¼ cups of sugar is actually quite a lot, actually, now that I think about it. This crust recipe has a healthy amount of sugar. Let me see, 1/4 cup. The all butter crust recipe that I used for the cranberry crumble sister pie recipe, I think it only had a teaspoon of sugar in it. And I have to say, the crust was the most disappointing part of that recipe, which I will get into. But I think I would add more sugar next time, which I usually don't say, but that is my honest opinion on that. Okay, so let's get into scents for a second because they are food. They are tasting. Mrs. Meyer's apple cider scent from last year that my mother bought me is horrendous and disgusting, and I had to throw it away. I went to Target because I had to buy a shower curtain, and it was by the airport, and they have a lot of interesting scents that I've never seen. I don't know if they have some sort of exclusive deal with Target, but I only really encounter Mrs. Meyer's products at Whole Foods. It seems that the distribution of products is different depending on the store that you go to. They had all kinds of scents, like a birch wood and a golden elm, and I can't even name them. But some of them were good, some of them were interesting. I would say never buy the apple cider scented one. It smells awful. And I did finally receive the sample of Olympic Orchids woodcut that I ordered and mentioned on my quest for a wintertime scent. I'm wearing it right now. I barely smell it. If you'll remember, I purchased it because I wanted a wood-like scent. And it does have a slight Home Depot fresh cut plywood scent. But I would say that it smells slightly charred, like a slightly smoky charred wood version of that. But overall, I'm smelling my wrist. It smells sweet and syrupy, and I will not be purchasing it. The wood smell is long gone. It's sort of a secondary note in my opinion, and it just kind of smells like a sugar syrup, and it's a no from me. Okay, more New York Times recipes and then I'll get into it. Actually, just one more, but I do want to say I do talk a lot of trash about New York Times recipes. I really like Melissa Clark's recipes. I also just saw that there's some they assembled a team of people to do holiday cookies, and Claire Saffitz is one of the New York Times people, so that's great. It kind of feels like a revival of the Bon Appetit Test Kitchen, and they should run with that because it was a success. Definitely get Claire Saffitz in there. And I want to shout out Melissa Clark's baked pasta recipe. It's not, I mean, it literally is a recipe, but I more use it as a guide for how to bake pasta without it becoming mushy or underdone. I think she uses 3/4 pounds of pasta and I forget how much water, but I do use it as a guide when I make baked pasta on a somewhat regular basis. So thank you. And it is very versatile. There's another recipe I want to talk about from New York Times, and this is the final one: sticky cranberry gingerbread. It's a gingerbread recipe that is very spiced, and it is filled with cranberries. I love a cranberry muffin or cranberry bread. And this sort of, I love that, but that feels summery to me. The spicing of the cake slash bread base into a gingerbread makes it feel more holiday. And I love it. I mean, I haven't tasted it yet, but it has maple syrup in it. It looks really good. There's also a lot of black pepper in it, which is very appealing to me. It's on my list of things to consider making. Okay. Let's get into it because, we're just getting into it now, but there are a lot of notes within this week's food log because I was cooking and it was Thanksgiving and I had house guests. House guests being my two sisters. November 24th, 2025. It was a Monday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 11 a.m. A bowl of bran flakes with milk. 12:30 p.m. Grilled jalapeno Havarti with sriracha on La Farm sourdough made at home. 6 p.m. Leftover fusillotti with mozzarella. 7:30 p.m. Bluebell cookie two-step ice cream. I was home from work. Why go into an office when nobody else is going to be there the week of Thanksgiving? My sister Anna tried this jalapeno Havarti cheese. I think both of my sisters tried it. I gave them a little bit while they were here, and my sister said that it tasted like queso. Moving on. November 25th, 2025. It was a Tuesday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 9 a.m. Leftover fusillotti with mozzarella. 2:30 p.m. Bran flakes with milk. 6 p.m. Roasted German butterball potatoes, roasted North Country andouille sausage, and romaine lettuce with creamy Caesar dressing made at home. 7:30 p.m. Bluebell cookie two-step ice cream. I'm really just working to clear out my fridge at this point. These North Country andouille sausages, which I got from Whole Foods, were surprisingly spicy. I would recommend them. November 26th, 2025. It was a Wednesday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 11 a.m. Leftover fusillotti. 5 p.m. Leftover andouille and potatoes with ketchup. 8:30 p.m. A Yingling, a Nashville hot wing with ranch, a Southwestern egg roll, a Big Mouth burger, and half of a Nashville hot mozzarella from Chili's in Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay. So this is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving. I'm cleaning the house all morning. I had some leftover pasta at 11 a.m. I had a leftover andouille sausage and 2 tiny potatoes with ketchup at 5 p.m. Didn't really eat a lot that day, but I think, let's see, my sisters didn't get in until 10 p.m. There were some flight delays. Brian was cleaning the bathroom and he said, we need to get a new shower curtain. The shower curtain is disgusting. So he suggested we go to Target, which is where I smelled all those Mrs. Myers scents. And, I don't know. We went around like 7 and I was like, okay, we have 3 hours to kill. What are we going to do? Spend 3 hours in Target? We did spend like a good 30 minutes arguing over which soap dispenser to buy. So that killed a good chunk of time. We ended up going to the Chili's by the airport, which had 3.7 stars on Google. We waited by the host stand for a while. No one ever came to seat us, so we did end up sitting at the bar, which was fine because they're playing a Carolina Hurricanes game, which Brian is a Hurricanes fan, so he was happy about that. And I'll tell you what, it is really hard to watch hockey. and they block out your local games on your channels or what. I don't know. It's like you have to pay like $100 a month to watch hockey. It's insane. So that was happening. Even after sitting at the bar, it took a while for someone to notice that we were there. There was a woman at the bar with a Chili's logo tattooed on her arm. There was a man using his phone flashlight to shed light on his nachos while he furiously cut it up with a fork and knife. And the flashlight on his phone, coupled with the furious knife cutting, made a light show in the restaurant. I got a Yingling. It was fine. We ordered a triple dipper and wings. So I had one of the wings. I think Brian got 2 flavors, but I ended up eating one of the Nashville hot flavors. I had a Southwestern egg roll. I had one of those mini Big Mouth burgers and half of one of those Mott's pillows. I've had their Nashville hot flavoring before. I think they went a little bit overboard this time, and it was kind of sickening. And it was too much. Oh, I didn't even write that I had ranch with it. Let me add that real quick. Of course, they give you like a boat of ranch with everything. And then we went to the airport and picked up my sisters. I ordered a extra triple dipper for them, which was risky because, I didn't know how long I'd be waiting, how long the food would be sitting out before it got to them. So I picked mozzarella sticks and a double order of the burger bites, which, I mean, I guess most of the components are fried. The burgers are not. I thought those would hold up the best. And then we were in there until last call, and they started flashing lights, and we had to get out of there, and we drove to the airport. Let's see. Wednesday. So this was the day. My Wednesday was actually full of twists and turns. So first of all, Wednesday I was like, I need to prep some stuff for Thanksgiving. I need to make rolls. I was expecting a delivery of a pie pan. Remember, I ordered that aluminum pie pan for delivery on Wednesday. I checked my order and it said, yeah, you're getting it on Friday now. So I called Brian and had him pick up disposable aluminum pans from the grocery store anyway. So, oh well. Also, this entire week, I've been sitting next to a candy bowl of these Snickerdoodle flavored Hershey Kisses, and they smell like frosting, and it is driving me wild. Another thing that happened on Wednesday was Brian's mom ran over a dog. The dog is fine, / maybe not. She thought she broke the dog's leg. The dog is walking around on 3 legs and won't let the 4th leg touch the ground. The dog is still chasing out after the car every time we drive by. The dog, and it's not Brian's mom's fault that she hit the dog. The dog runs in front of the car, even when the car is going full speed. The dog has bitten people as they walk and drive by. We have a gator where your legs are exposed, and the dog has bitten people on the gator. The dog is out of control. And you would think that getting hit by a car would have stopped the dog, but nothing has changed. So that happened on Wednesday. The big thing that I did on Wednesday was make Fantan rolls. And I used Claire Saffitz's sour cream and chive recipe. Let me pull it up for you real quick. It's behind a paywall now on Bon Appetit, so I opened up a separate browser with a separate account and downloaded it. So I have it now. This recipe is from October 20th, 2020 and is called Pull Apart Sour Cream and Chive Rolls. And when it originally came out in the print magazine that my sister had, I made it that Christmas. I made them that Christmas. I think I made them a couple times. They're very good. This recipe makes 24 rolls and you're supposed to bake them in a 13 by 9 pan. I should have had this recipe because I was only making 12 rolls, 12 Fantan rolls in a 12 muffin tin. But I didn't, and I made giant rolls. I think they were a little too big and they didn't retain their shape very well, but they were distinctly, they kind of look like cheap Costco or grocery store croissants. Anyway, this recipe is pretty good. It's a milk bread. Half a cup plus 2 tablespoons of whole milk, 5 1/3 cup or 667 grams of bread flour, 1.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast, 1 cup of sour cream at room temp, 1/4 cup of sugar or 50 grams of sugar, 4 teaspoons of diamond crystal or 2 1/4 teaspoons of Morton kosher salt, 3 large eggs, 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter at room temp. So the first thing you do is you whisk half a cup of milk, 1/3 a cup of flour or 42 grams, and half a cup of water. And, you make the tangzong. I don't know how to pronounce it properly. You make the paste that is the base of the milk bread that keeps it tender and moist. This recipe asks you to warm 2 tablespoons of milk in a saucepan and let the yeast dissolve in it. I don't do that. I just added that milk into the tangzong. Step 3, add sour cream, sugar, kosher salt, 2 eggs, 4 tablespoons of the butter, and remaining 5 cups of bread flour or 625 grams to the tangzong. Scrape in the yeast mixture, which I just added the yeast directly. And you mix it on low speed until a shaggy dough forms. Increase to medium, scraping down the sides of the bowl until dough is smooth and supple, 8 to 10 minutes. I added chives at this point. The recipe asks you to make a giant square and then sprinkle the chives over it, and then you roll the square up and then cut the rolls into pieces like a cinnamon roll, and then you shape the rolls into round rolls. I just added the chives at the last stages of mixing and mixed them in with the dough hook. This is pretty similar to a recipe that I made when I worked at Good Ambler. We made chive hamburger rolls. We made chive brioche rolls. I made them at least once a week. Used a round cutter for them, but we would just add the chives directly to the mix. And with this recipe, because of my experience working with the chive brioche rolls, I mixed the dough for about 8 to 10 minutes, or I don't know, maybe about 5 to 8 minutes before adding the butter. The fat inhibits the gluten development, which is fine for a dinner roll, but I wanted as much gluten development as possible, and I did wait to add the butter until there was the dough started coming together and pulling away from the sides of the bowl. So I followed this recipe and rolled it out into a square, just like the recipe says. But at that point, I cut the recipe into 12 equal strips, cut those strips into equal parts of 4, and then I stacked those 4 parts and put them, into I actually used cupcake wrappers, buttered cupcake. I put cupcake wrappers in. I buttered the cupcake wrappers and put the 4 pieces into the cupcake wrapper. I don't know if it was necessary, but I just wanted to be safe. And then I let those proof overnight in the fridge. The next day, I took them out to rise for 3 hours, as the recipe suggests. Egg wash. I did a heavy egg wash with cream in it, and then I did Malden, and I cooked them. I underbaked them a little bit because I knew I wanted to warm them back up in the oven before serving, which I think was the right move. I also put them under the broiler to make them brown because they weren't browning enough for me, and I think I made them a little too brown. They were fine. They were not as aesthetically pleasing or beautiful as some of the pictures I've seen online of Fantan rolls. I think, I don't think this was the perfect recipe for a Fantan roll. I think maybe less yeast. It got extremely puffy, to the point where the fans were not as beautifully distinguishable. So I would say use a Fantan recipe that's been tested for a Fantan roll, rather than something to be super puffy and round, is my guess. Or, I don't know. I mean, they were cute, but they weren't distinctive, I would say. I did watch my sisters pull the sections apart and spread butter on them, which was fun. I guess, and that is part of milk bread, when you stack the 4 parts into a loaf pan and then you can pull the pieces apart. I guess it was a mini milk loaf, essentially what I was making. And yeah, you can pull the individual pieces apart and it gives you a nice flat surface to slather butter on. Okay, I'm done with this recipe. November 27th, 2025. It was a Thursday. 7 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half, made at home. 11 a.m. A small slice of einkorn pound cake, half of a jam pinwheel, part of a morning bun, and part of a malted cherry scone from Bolted Bread in Raleigh, North Carolina. 1 p.m. Leatherby palm aperitif with Topo Chico, made at home. 3 p.m. Deep fried turkey, mashed potatoes with gravy, cheese casserole, corn pudding, arancini, green beans, cranberry sauce, a glass of Miguel Arroyo Izquierdo Mousse Verdejo 2024, lemon raspberry posset, cranberry crumble pie with a scoop of Bluebell homemade vanilla ice cream, a cup of coffee with half and half, Keebler Club crackers with horseradish and cheddar cheese spread, and a pour of Josh Pinot Grigio at Brian's parents' house. Yikes. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I woke up at 7 in the morning to make a pie, I made the pie crust. I wanted to roll it out and give it ample time to freeze before I had to blind bake it. The pie needed 4 to 6 hours to rest before cutting, so I needed to get it going. This was tough because I was up till 1 or 2 in the morning, but I did manage to wake up at 7 and get this going. So I rolled out the crust. I froze it for about an hour while I preheated the oven to 450. The cranberry crumble pie recipe calls for a grated pear in the filling. Once I peeled the pear, I ended up using the d'Anjou pear, which was very large and not very soft, but I peeled it and I was about to grate it, but it was so slippery from being a wet pear that I thought I was going to cut myself, and I ended up just doing a small dice, which I think was fine and totally appropriate. So I cut the pear and I mixed that with the frozen cranberries and the compote that I had previously made. I added cinnamon and a ton of nutmeg. I also added a little bit of 5-spice. And it smelled amazing. And actually, I thought it was a great combo. I do have allspice, but it's so old and I didn't want to grate it because I knew I would cut myself. So I didn't actually add any allspice to the recipe, which, I didn't follow the recipe truly then. But I think that the ample amount of nutmeg was perfect. I blind baked the crust. I did a nice fat crimp and blind baked it. Unfortunately, the pie crust, even after properly blind baking it, shrank up more than I expected, and it did lose most of its crimp, which was very unfortunate. I'm wondering if I overworked the dough a little bit while I was rolling it out, and the 45 minutes to an hour in the freezer was not enough time for the dough to relax and allow for it to hold its shape. It didn't shrink that much, but it shrunk enough that there wasn't much of an overhang. And when I was actually assembling the pie and putting all the crumble on top of it, I felt like I was running out of room, and I wasn't able to use all of the crumble. It felt like I was making a gravel pile because I wanted to leave some of the interior fruit of the pie exposed, like in the photos of the pie. Also, just so I could see that fruit, it's nice. And yeah, it felt insane. It felt like I was building a tower. And by the end of the baking process, that crumbles, it did not look as ridiculous, and I probably could have used all of it, but it was my first time making it, and it looked insane. What else do I have to say about this recipe? I would have added more salt and sugar, or maybe just more sugar, to the pie dough recipe itself. I think the pie dough recipe itself was good, but I probably would have let it rest more, let it freeze for longer, and I would have tried to not work the dough as much. I mean, I really don't think I did, but clearly it didn't hold the crimp properly. So I did something wrong. I did watch a TikTok video of Claire Saffitz. I mean, I don't even know if this is an official account. I think it might just be someone uploading her videos onto TikTok. She was making a sweet potato pie in a glass dish, which was interesting because that's what I was trying to avoid. But she was doing a similar process. She formed the pie crust in the glass pie dish and froze it, but only for about 15 minutes. And then she blind baked it. But she did a blind bake. I think she did like 15 minutes at 400 and then 30 minutes at 325 or something. I guess she ended up making a braid and putting that around the rim of the pie. I don't know. I need to think more about what I could do next time to be able to maintain that proper crimp. I used to make pies in bakeries all the time, and I can't really remember what I did at this point. It's been so long. But, for making I haven't made a proper pie crust in years, and I think I did. It was decent for, not making pies all the time. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about these bolted bread pastries. I ordered a box of pastries from Bolted Bread in Raleigh. They were, Brian picked them up on Wednesday on his way home from work. And so they were not as crispy and shattery as they usually are because it was the next day. But they were still good. There was a small einkorn pound cake, which was sweet and kind of one note and forgettable, in my opinion. The jam pinwheel was fine. It's better when it's crunchy. And the jam, we could not figure out what kind of jam it was. Perhaps an apricot jam. The morning bun is probably my favorite. It's cinnamony, but not too sweet. It's a little dry, but not too dry. it just has a bit of granulated sugar on the outside for some crunch and to add some sweetness. And I think that's just enough. Um, the malted cherry scone was shockingly salty. It was too salty, in my opinion, and very dry. Okay, and that was half the pastries. We saved some of the pastries, which I will get into. Let's talk about this Leatherby pomme aperitif that my sister sent. So first of all, as you know, I ordered glasses off of Martha Stewart's infomercial because I am not immune to propaganda. And I did order her cocktail glasses. So, and I got giant cocktail ice cube trays, and I made giant square ice cubes to put in those cocktail glasses, which was a bit ridiculous. Martha did it on her channel where she had these tiny dainty coupe glasses and then she put a giant ice cube in them, which would have hit your face if you went to drink it. So I do like the glasses. I don't know if I would put a giant ice cube in them. Also, I didn't realize how big the ice cube would be when I ordered it because I don't know how to measure things. Okay, so Leatherby pomme aperitif. So my sister, I think I talked about Leatherby last time. It's a Chicago. We know it from Chicago. We used to use their gin in the. I worked at the Talia Hall Punch House Dusex building. I made all their punch, and we used to use their gin in everything. And their gin comes in these nice square bottles, so it's perfect for storing things. So anytime I made bottled punch, we would use these square Leatherby bottles to store things in. So I know their product very well, but these are new products that I am not familiar with. So the Pomme Aperitif is a autumnal 2025 limited release. Okay, so the picture on the website is too small. I can't even read the label. So, okay, they provided a description. A spirited blend of Virtue Farms heirloom apple wine with Leatherby's aromatic fortification of neutral grain spirit and artichoke. This aperitif wine is great with food. Enjoy chilled and straight over ice, in a spritz, or in a cocktail. It has an extended shelf life, especially if refrigerated after opening. It is unaged and is 18%. The color is straw. The nose is cider, tropical fruits, dry herb. Palate off dry, rich fruit lifted with herbaceousness. Finish warm, acid, grippy, tropical fruit and apple. This tasted like this. It tastes like apple juice. It tastes like a really nice apple juice. And straight, it's maybe a touch sweet and syrupy. I think with the Topo Chico, super fizzy Topo Chico to dilute it, it was lovely. And we drank it right before going over to dinner. So I think it was the perfect aperitif. It was very fun, I would say, but it really just tastes like a nice apple. I mean, I don't know where they're getting all these other tasting notes. It tastes like apples. That's the end of the story. Let's talk about Thanksgiving dinner. So Brian deep fried 2 turkeys. They were wonderful. We usually do one and never get any of the leftovers. I don't know why, but there's some people who come over who make to-go plates for themselves as soon as they're done eating. And then I don't know what that is about. But that's what happens, and we usually don't really get anything. Doing 2 turkeys this time helped, and we were able to leave with some turkey. Brian's mom made mashed potatoes with what I believe was a packet gravy made with water. A guest brought a cheese casserole, which I've talked about. It tastes like bananas to me for some reason. I don't know what that flavor is that I'm picking up. Brian's mom made a corn pudding. It was extremely sweet. I fried arancini after we fried the fried turkeys, and then I put them in the oven, I think for a little bit too long because we were late. and the arancini's dried out. And it was a very, very sad shame. All that work, and they dried out too far in the oven. Very disappointing. If you recall, when I did a test fry last weekend, they were absolutely perfect. What I should have done is just put them in the oven for 10 minutes tops. Unfortunately, they were in there for longer than that, and it was just too much. And there's really no saving them. I did cover them in chives. I was going to grate some Parmesan over them, but thank God I didn't waste them on that because they were very disappointing to me. Brian's mom also made green beans. It was not a green bean casserole. It was just sauteed green beans. And there was some sort of like canned cranberry sauce. We did open a bottle of this Verdejo that I read off. I got it at Raleigh, the Raleigh wine shop. It was not the wine for me. It was very briny and olivey and salty. A touch sour. It was dry. I will say that. I like that aspect of it, but overall, not a bottle I would buy again. If you like that sort of briny, which I do enjoy a briny wine from time to time, but it's just not what I wanted. The lemon raspberry posset was nice. It was hard to get it to set fully in time for Thanksgiving. Mary hated it. My sisters did help heavily making these lemon posset, which were sweetened with raspberry jam instead of sugar. Mary thought they tasted rancid. She's just not a big fruit dessert person, I'm realizing. I think I had one, but it wasn't fully set. I still have them in my fridge, and I'll probably eat them this week. Brian's mom made or bought, I could not tell, 2 apple pies, which went untouched, unfortunately. I had a slice of the cranberry crumble pie with the ice cream, and it was really, really good. The only real complaint I have is about the pie crust itself. It could have used a little more sugar, I think. And it was sad. Someone tried to pre-cut all the pies, and it looked like someone sat on my pie by the time I got to get a slice out of it. So that was sad. Let's see. Brian was Googling posset, and we realized that it was a precursor to eggnog, which is interesting, and it makes making posset for the holidays all the more appropriate, I think. A posset was originally a popular hot drink made of milk curdled with wine or ale, often spiced, which was often used as a remedy. In the 18th century, it was reportedly only drunk in Sweden, Norway, and England. The original drink became extinct, and the name was revived in the 19th century and applied to cream, sugar, and citrus-based confection, which is consumed today as a cold set dessert nearly indistinguishable from syllabub, which I've also talked about in one of my episodes named after syllabub. And then the Wikipedia shows a glass of modern lemon posset served with almond bread. Okay, so all of these cream desserts, eggnog, syllabub, posset, are all sort of intertwined. Let's see. Where does posset come from? Certain monks would make a posset including eggs and figs, a possible precursor to eggnog. They think that the word posset come from a small pot or saucepan. 16th century and later sources, possets are generally made from lemon or other citrus juice, cream, and sugar. Eggs are often added. Some recipes use breadcrumbs to thicken the beverage. there are posset sets used to serve and make the possets. The word posset is mostly used nowadays for a cold set dessert invented in the late 19th century containing cream and lemon, similar to syllabub. Oh, it is also used to refer to the semi-digested milk brought up by babies after a feed. Oh. Okay. So after dinner, we watched the dog show. I think we ate around 2:30 and ate this cheese spread that I tried to Google. The only place that I could find it is on MaximumBev.com, which I'm visiting right now. And again, it keeps thinking I'm a robot. This spread is called Di Bruno Bros Cheddar and Horseradish Cheese Spread. It's an aged cheddar and smoky bacon cheese spread, it says, but also cheddar and horseradish. For over 80 years, Di Bruno Bros has been offering nothing but the highest quality products, made with integrity, often in-house and infused with the story of the people who made them. It's a story of discovery, of two brothers, aunts and uncles, of culinary pioneers and Philadelphians. And it is that dinner table mentality that has enabled Di Bruno Bros to not only endure for so long, but also to grow and prosper both locally and nationally. That's interesting because I have never heard of this brand or seen it besides at the Maximum Beverage website. I'm guessing that Brian's mom purchased it at a beverage place like Total Wines. I'm not sure. But it feels like a TJ Maxx product or like a grocery store cheese section product that is maybe on trial at your local grocery store. Okay. That was Thanksgiving. November 28th, 2025. It was a Friday. 10 a.m. Joe Van Gogh coffee with half and half made at home. Part of a morning bun and a pain au chocolat from bolted bread. 2 p.m. Cars, water crackers with Le Petit Brie, marinated gigante beans, marinated mushrooms, assorted olives stuffed with feta and pimentos, and Hershey's Snickerdoodle Kisses. 5:30 p.m. Kale Caesar pasta salad with calamari pasta, toasted garlic and Meyer lemon breadcrumbs, and leftover turkey made at home, and a small pour of Leatherby pomme aperitif with Topo Chico, and a small pour of isestegi. 7:30 p.m. A small slice of leftover cranberry crumble pie with a small scoop of Bluebell homemade vanilla ice cream, half of a C's lemon truffle, a dark raspberry cream truffle, and half of a milk mocha cream truffle. Okay. Joe Van Gogh coffee. I decided to try Joe Van Gogh coffee. It is local. They roast it in Hillsborough, North Carolina. There was a bag of it on sale at Whole Foods called Women Coffee Power, which I thought made sense since my sisters were coming, so we needed to drink a coffee made for women. It is from a partnership with Cafe Feminino. I don't understand what Cafe Feminino is. Joe Van Gogh Cafe Feminino is grown on thousands of women-owned and women-operated farms across 10 countries. Each bag tells a story. Okay, so it seems to be a line of coffee that Joe Van Gogh does where women have grown the coffee. And presumably women are drinking it too. At least they are in my home, although Brian was allowed to drink it. It was good. It was a good coffee. I can't complain. It was also on sale. So they did have a Joe Van Gogh decaf bag on sale that I considered getting so we could have like a nice after dinner coffee. And Brian said, do not buy that for your sisters. They don't want that shit. Okay, midday we had some Cars assorted entertainment variety pack of water crackers with some brie and all of the assorted olives that I bought that leaked all over my car. We had tried the Hershey's Snickerdoodle Kisses that have been torturing me in my home from the smell that they give off. They're divine. They taste like Dunkaroos. They taste like the like graham cinnamon Dunkaroo cookie with the vanilla frosting. Highly recommended. They also kind of taste like a Hershey's cookies and cream bar, but instead of Oreos, it's like a graham cinnamon cookie in there. Well, it's a snickerdoodle. That's why it's called Hershey's Snickerdoodle. Sorry. I am going to praise this New York Times recipe that I used to make this kale Caesar pasta salad. Let me check my phone real quick because I do need to reference this recipe. Okay, first of all, let me say I got a bag of the Partana organic calamari pasta on sale, which was lovely. I do love that calamari shape. So unique. Okay. Actually, I think it was perfect for a pasta salad, especially like a very simple pasta salad like this. It really got coated all over with the sauce, even though it's not rich, but it is bronze cut, so it has that texture to have the sauce stick to it. So let's just get into it. So the salad itself is a pound of pasta. It recommends mezze rigatoni or another short pasta, which I followed. A cup of panko or homemade breadcrumbs, the zest of 2 lemons, 2 garlic cloves grated, 3 tablespoons of olive oil divided, 4 cups of packed baby kale leaves or 1-inch Tuscan kale ribbons, stems removed, 1.5 ounces of Parmesan shavings. Oh, I forgot to add that. Sorry. For the dressing, 1 cup of mayonnaise, 1 cup freshly grated Parmesan, 1 2-ounce can of anchovy fillets drained, 4 large garlic cloves, juice of 2 lemons, 4 teaspoons of Dijon mustard, salt and pepper. Okay, so Anna made this with me. What did we do first? We made the breadcrumbs first. So I had some pre-seasoned 4-cup panko breadcrumbs. They were seasoned with what were they seasoned with? Pecorino and parsley. They're lightly seasoned. So we did add 2 fat shaved garlic cloves and the zest of 2 Meyer lemons. I used all my regular lemons for the lemon posset, so we used Meyer lemons for this recipe, and it was lovely. And then olive oil. So Anna toasted the breadcrumbs in the olive oil, grated garlic, zest of 2 Meyer lemons. She also ripped kale ribbons off of stems from a giant bunch of beautiful Tuscan kale that Brian brought home from work. It's like the lacinato dark blue kale. And she did massage that with oil. And meanwhile, I cooked the pasta in salt water until it was al dente and then tossed it with a little bit of olive oil to keep it from sticking. And I made the dressing. So I used a cup of Duke's. I used a ton of freshly grated parm. I used a can of anchovies that were nice. I forget the brand. Ton of garlic, juice of 2 Meyer lemons, 4 teaspoons of Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. And you're supposed to mix the cooked pasta and the kale all together and let it sit in the fridge for at least 4 hours or up to 4 hours. I don't remember. You're supposed to let it sit. So we did that. And then when you assemble the salad, you put the breadcrumbs over to serve, and apparently shaved Parmesan, which I forgot. But we did add leftover fried turkey to it, which was nice. Cold turkey, I don't know, sometimes turkey is a little too gamey for me, but it was good. So we ate that for dinner with a little tiny pour of that pomme aperitif again, and then we opened a bottle of Isostegi, which, I like a not sweet, a very dry beverage, but the Isostegi was also like a little bit off/briny to me, a little salty sour in a way that was unpleasant. Okay, so let's talk about these chocolates. So, one of my sisters sent 2 bottles of Leatherby, which was just a thoughtful hosting gift. And then my other sister brought a 2 pound box of C's chocolates, also an incredibly generous and thoughtful hosting gift. And fun too, because I love to like get a little tiny plate out and cut the chocolates into halves or quarters and taste a variety of them with people. I mean, that's the fun part, like tasting all of them. So eating chocolates alone is not as fun to me. So I did get to split chocolates, and very thoughtfully, Mary only got me the soft centers. She knows that I love a soft center, probably because of how much I talk about the Deese's chocolates and how I love their creams. Deese's chocolate creams. The one off, it's not even off. The one downside of purchasing chocolates that are nationally distributed and as widely produced as C's chocolates is that they are a little bit more shelf stable, which doesn't take away from the flavor necessarily, but it does change the texture, and you can tell that it is preserved in a different way and produced to be shelf stable in a different way than if you're ordering from a family chocolate shop such as Dietz's in Ohio, where when you bite into one of their cream filled chocolates, the cream is alive is not the right word because it's obviously not alive, but it's soft, and it doesn't pour out, but it has, it's freshly piped in there. You could tell that it could mold. You could tell that it could go bad because it's so fresh. It's just a different eating experience. Whereas the C's fillings are like pre-molded. You could just peel the chocolate off of them and the filling would stay in a disc. Whereas, the Dietz's are quite the opposite. Anyway, the C's lemon truffle was good. I really liked the the dark raspberry cream truffle. That was lovely. My favorite, however, was the milk mocha cream truffle, which is covered in tiny chocolate sprinkles. Ooh, it just, it reminds me of going to the mall in the 90s with my mom and one of my sisters, the only one who was alive at that time. And there was a coffee shop in the beginning of the mall where we would get a black and white cookie. Anna and I would split a black and white cookie, and my mom would get a coffee. And it just smelled like sweet mocha coffee, hazelnut. Ooh, it just smelled like sweet 90s mall coffee. And that's exactly what this milk mocha cream truffle tasted like. It was divine. And after that, we decided to watch Real Housewives of Vancouver, which did bring up a food item that I want to discuss. So my sisters are way more versed in the Real Housewives universe than I am. I think they've just watched more franchises than I have. I do have some catching up to do. So we went on the Peacock app to see what other franchises there were, and there's some newly released older franchises. So they've added, I forget what they are now, but one of them was Vancouver, which is from 2012, but it hasn't been available to stream. I think there's also a Toronto. There were a couple others that we hadn't seen before. Anyway, apparently Vancouver is one of the darkest Real Housewife franchises. What was most interesting to me is that they were Canadian, so they were doing Canadian things. One of which was they were all out to breakfast, brunch, lunch, and they all ordered spicy Caesars. And we had just eaten Caesar salad for dinner, and it was a little bit spicy from all the garlic that was in it. And we were like, oh my God, that sounds so good, a spicy Caesar salad? No, what they were talking about is a cocktail called a Caesar, which is Canadian. Caesar is 2 shots of vodka, a pinch of horseradish, a little Tabasco, Worcestershire, ice, filled to the top of a celery salt and spiced rimmed glass with clamato juice. So it's a Bloody Mary, I guess. Now that I think of it, it's also, I've heard of this back when I was actually bartending. I remember this cocktail now. It's like a Bloody Mary or a michelada. But the clam digger, it's also called, I guess. But that's what they were drinking. And anyway, I would like one at some point. Okay. November 29th, 2025. It was a Saturday, 10 a.m. Joe Van Gogh coffee with half and half, part of a pomelo, brown cow maple, cream top yogurt, and honey granola made at home. 3 p.m. A walking taco, spicy chicken wrap with buffalo sauce, and cheese curds from Cookout in Creedmoor, North Carolina. 5 p.m. A C's dark Bordeaux chocolate, a milk butterscotch chocolate, and a milk Bordeaux chocolate. Okay. As you can tell, my sisters sleep late. They're also from different time zones, so we're not eating or making coffee until 10 in the morning, which is tough for me, but it's okay. I bought a pomelo and I peeled it for everybody. It was disappointing. It was a little bit dry. It kind of tasted like nothing. I prefer grapefruit. I think I got the ruby pomelo instead of the golden white interior pomelo. I don't know if I would buy it again. Maybe I just got a bad one. But not as tart and juicy as I would have liked. For some reason, the Brown Cow brand maple yogurt is always on sale when my sisters come to town, so I do buy it. If you will remember, I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast, but the last time I bought it, I accidentally ate all the cream off the top. And then let them take yogurt out of it. And they were like, yeah. I was like, this yogurt's amazing. They're like, yeah, it's fine. So this time I made sure to mix it thoroughly before everybody got some. And then I got I think it's Cascadia brand honey granola that was on sale at Whole Foods. It's organic. It doesn't have any nuts or fruit in it. It was only like $3 and change. It's a little bit sweet on sweet. And Brian was like, wow, why don't we eat this every morning? Why are we eating cereal? And I was like, because this granola is like just straight up sugar. So it's only a guest breakfast, I think. My sisters insisted on going to Cookout. They do love going to Cookout, and I can't blame them. And I love that someone wants to go to Cookout with me. So we went to our new Cookout. Not to brag, but I have 2 Cookouts near my house now. One of them is new, and they have different menu items. They have let's see, what do they have? They have a beef quesadilla, which I've not seen before at any of the locations near me. They have a walking taco, which I have seen in Durham, and they have jalapeno cheese fries, which I've also seen in Durham. They also, I was worried because it was November 29th that they wouldn't have their eggnog shake yet. But when we pulled up, their sign said, we have eggnog shakes. We're going to pull over and get that. So, they had the peppermint chip shake as well, which does not appeal to me. Brian and my sisters all got eggnog shakes, and I tried it, and it was delightful. Very mildly eggnog, I would say. But comparable to the McDonald's eggnog milkshake, I think, from memory. I've not had it in years. Anna's a huge eggnog fan, if you have not already heard. I got a walking taco. They did not put the jalapenos in it, which I specifically asked for, and I think it would have been a lot better with the jalapenos. The walking taco always disappoints me a little bit, but I keep buying it because I like them, but I think it does need a jalapeno component. I did get a spicy chicken wrap, which has quesadilla sauce in it. It had a lot of pickles in it. I liked it, but I think I like the Cajun Ranch chicken wrap better. We got sauce, and they gave us so much sauce that I can't fit anything in my fridge anymore. It's just full of Cookout buffalo and ranch sauce. And the cheese curds were great. It was a good cookout. We brought it to a lake and sat on a picnic table and ate it on the lake in the cold, and it was a nice time. I will mention the big disappointment of the day was before going to cookout, we made a Walmart run, as we usually do when my sisters come to town, because inevitably we need something at Walmart for guest purposes. Usually it's because an air mattress has popped. But I mentioned that the Butterfinger bells were back for Christmas, which went away for a long time, but they're back. They look a lot smaller than I remember them, but maybe it's just because I'm an adult now. And when I went to Walmart to get the Snickerdoodle Hershey Kisses, I saw them and I thought, I wonder if that would be exciting to my sisters or not. As soon as I brought it up to Anna, she gasped. And I was like, let's go to Walmart and get some. So Walmart has 2 rows, like 2 aisles of Christmas candy. At least my Walmart does. Stocked to the brim. We get to the section where the Butterfinger bells are, completely sold out. So of course we searched around to make sure that we weren't crazy. Yeah, everybody bought the Butterfinger bells, of course. I kept seeing people talking about them online. So we did not get Butterfinger bells. They did have a few bags of Crunch bells left. But Anna was not excited by them, so that was sad. 8 more C's chocolates that night. Mary says that the Bordeaux flavor is their signature flavor. It was good. It was weird. I tasted the dark chocolate Bordeaux and then the milk chocolate Bordeaux. One of them was a lot saltier than the other, which was confusing. I don't know if they flavor the insides differently depending on whether it's a milk or dark chocolate. And then the butterscotch chocolate was very grainy in my opinion. But overall, they're good chocolates. November 30th, 2025. It was a Sunday. 9 a.m. Joe Van Gogh coffee with half and half made at home and brown cow maple cream top yogurt. 11:30 a.m. Half of a maple long john filled with raspberry jam, part of a maple frosted glazed old-fashioned donut, part of a chocolate frosted glazed old-fashioned donut, and a piece of a glazed donut, and a piece of an apple fritter from Carolina Glazed Donuts in Durham, North Carolina. 4:30 p.m. Bonhomme Brie with assorted cars, wheat crackers, black olives, Comey's pear, and a small pour of Leatherby pear dry cordial. 6 p.m. Sausage puffs made with cheddar, onion compote, and Jimmy Dean sausage made at home. 7 p.m. Half of a C's strawberry cream chocolate, half of a blueberry cream chocolate, half of a coconut cream chocolate, half of a milk chocolate buttercream chocolate, and a quarter of a vanilla buttercream chocolate. Okay. So we had to take Anne to the airport. Her flight was delayed, and I thought, what are we going to do for 30 minutes around the airport? I took her to Carolina Glazed Donuts, which is where my former boss has been going for some doctor's appointments, and she recommended them. It's a very bare bones place by the airport in a strip mall next to a store called Ping Pong, which is a Chinese food place apparently. All of the businesses around it look like fronts. But it's also like hole in the wall where it could be good. There is a place called Baba Ganoush that is a Greek restaurant that looks pretty good. So anyway, they were nearly sold out of all their donuts, but we did get a good variety. They were okay. It is the style, the old fashioned, no frills donut style that I'm looking for. But I think they could have been crunchier. Like that glazy, crunchy, fatty, fried outside crunch experience with the donut. The maple long john. So here's the weird thing about this coffee shop. You get to pick your filling and they fill it on upon ordering. There was a Boston cream filling, there was a cream cheese cream filling, there was a raspberry filling. I should have done the cream cheese cream filling with the maple long john. The raspberry jam was gloopy and sweet, and when Brian and I were eating the donut, it fell all over the parking lot and it looked like someone had been murdered. Brian said it looked like it had fallen out of somebody's body. The apple fritter was pretty good. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. While we were driving around the airport in circles, Brian said, "Do you guys remember Miami Subs?" And I said, "No." Apparently this was, I think, a more southern chain. And I Googled it because Brian was insisting that it was a national chain, which maybe it was. But I never heard of it. The founder was tragically murdered in 2001. And after that, it went downhill. So he was murdered by 3 Italian mobsters for some sort of issue with his other businesses. I guess he was an investor in other businesses and it was over money. He was murdered. And after he was murdered, Pitbull, the rapper, bought equity. I don't know how to talk like a business person. He became a stakeholder in the business and rebranded it as Miami Grill. So they have like 1 location in North Carolina, 1 location in Georgia, and then like 10 in Florida. So if you're in Florida, you want to support Pitbull the rapper, you can visit his Miami Subs. Sorry, it's called Miami Grill now. Check it out. They do still make subs. Okay, let's talk about this Bonhomme Brie. It was good. It's the brie that they sell during the holidays in Whole Foods. It's a full wheel of brie, and it's always on sale for some reason for like $10.99. It was good. And let's talk about this pear dry cordial. So unfortunately, we didn't get to taste it with Anna while she was still here, but this is another Leatherby product that she sent. Pear dry cordial. Makes an elegant spritz, it says. Acid-driven, dry and fruity cordial drinks like an why can't I not say this word? Aromatized wine or vermouth. Could also be thought of as analogous to sherry in cocktail applications. That's exactly what it tasted like. It tasted like a fortified wine or brandy wine, sherry. Absolutely. It was 18%. The color is straw. The nose is stone fruit. The palate is bright and funky. The finish is dry and elegant. I get that. It was very sweet and tasted very fortified. Mary, Brian, and I drank it in a like ribbed Italian tiny whiskey glass over ice, over a giant cube of ice. It was nice. So that was fun. Sorry that you didn't get to drink it, Anna. She was at the airport. Okay, so for dinner, I really wanted to make these sausage puffs that I saw on TikTok from Chris Collins. I talked about it and I made it happen. I found out he has a website called Don't Go Bacon My Heart, which I don't know how I feel about it. He published this recipe on October 13th of this year, 2025. He calls them sausage, cheese, and onion puffs. Think of these as jazzed up sausage rolls. So I only found this recipe after I made them. But what he does is he takes squares of puff pastry, and if you imagine quadrants, you just cut a slit on one side halfway, and then you can fold the quadrants over themselves. So you have a square of puff pastry. I made an onion compote with caramelized onions, butter, some leftover pickling garlic vinegar that I have in the fridge that tastes really great. that I pickled something in it, and with a ton of garlic and black peppercorns and some sugar and some salt. So it's like a seasoned vinegar that I added. I did add a little bit of granulated sugar, and then cook that down into not quite a compote, not quite like a jam, but it was like a broken down caramelized onion jam, I would say. So that went on one quadrant. I had thin slices of cheddar cheese on another quadrant, and then I had some Jimmy Dean sausage that I spread raw, another quadrant. Folded those up, heavy egg wash and malt and salt. Cooked those at 350 for like 35-40 minutes. They were lovely. Brian saved one for breakfast the next day. They did taste like a breakfast item, but also the Jimmy Dean sausage makes me think of stuffing. So it was kind of like a holiday breakfast, somewhere between a breakfast sausage and a holiday stuffing breakfast. Breakfast stuffing. No. Stuffing sausage. And then I ate more See's chocolates. Didn't like the blueberry one. Too many like real blueberries in there. The strawberry was very nice. I like that one. And the vanilla buttercream one was very soft and smooth. Okay, I've talked for long enough. Upon listener request, I did do another 1.5 hour episode. Shout out to Miranda Winters. Thank you for being one of 4 people to listen to my podcast. Bye-bye.